Rock says, know your damn role.
Here we are, another episode of the sidecast of the Jet and Mike podcast, which is my personal thoughts on wrestling. Like I said, once again, thank you so much for the for listening, for tuning in and listening, giving my sidecast a listen, and also for just embracing this and giving your own thoughts and subscribing to the channel. And I just wanted to bring another element to the Jet and Mike podcast, which is definitely this sidecast, because I am a wrestling fanatic, and you guys are helping me with my wrestling fix every week. Just being able to sit down and talk with you guys and share some of my thoughts. So I wasn't actually going to do another one of these podcasts just because of the fact that I wanted to dedicate a little bit more time to the Jet and Mike podcast, because we haven't done one in about a week and a half. So, but Jet's running late, so I'm like, man, I might throw just a little small tiny podcast out there just to tweak your interest. So, okay, what happened to me was I often find myself, as I'm getting ready to go somewhere, I find myself watching or even just listening to just old school wrestling, because I'm an old school wrestling fanatic. I grew up in the Attitude Era. That was my era. I claim it proudly. That is the era that caused me to fall in love with wrestling, and that is what I presume as the golden age of wrestling. So, with all that being said, one of the newer things, it's probably from 2014, but it was when SmackDown had its 15-year anniversary, and Triple H and The Rock end up in the locker room together with Stephanie, and at first it's all laughs and giggles. Hey, how you doing, Rock? Hey, how you doing, guys? He shakes Triple H's hand and hugs him, which I totally think was a work. I mean, we all know Triple H and The Rock never really got along, and I'll get more into that in a few seconds. But then they started teasing the possibility of a WrestleMania main event, Triple H versus The Rock. Sell out the arena, which won't have a roof. They're gonna blow the roof off the joint. You know, biggest WrestleMania main event of all time. Something everybody wanted to see. You know, Triple H versus The Rock. And let me just say, I want to see that. I do want to see that, just because I think that would solidify who was better, because you never got that one-on-one main event at a WrestleMania to decide who was better. Like Austin Rock, we know they saved that for WrestleMania. It was almost as if though The Rock versus Austin could only happen at WrestleMania. WrestleMania was the only event that could host something that big. Same as Rock Hogan, even though they messed up in 2003 and did a No Way Out Rock versus Hogan rematch, which I think really undersold that card. But yeah, I honestly just believe that The Rock versus Triple H would be a great main event, and hopefully, with Triple H being out of the picture right now and just running things in the background and not on camera, because and that's funny. That's so funny for somebody who wanted to be the guy. Now Triple H can care less about being in front of the camera. On the King of Kings DVD, and I truly believe this, he's like, dude, when they actually are writing me into the scripts, I don't even want to be on camera, because there's so much he goes through on a daily basis now with running this global organization, that now it's just like, man, I just went through, I imagine going to bed at midnight, or, well, actually he's working out at midnight, going to bed at like 2 a.m, getting up at like 9, driving your daughters off to school, and then after that, you have to go run this global organization, meetings all day, making decisions, all this stuff. Then you got to drive or fly to taping. If it's Raw or SmackDown, you have to drive to TV, and then do TV until 10. And like I said, oh my goodness, I could just imagine how much of a grind that is. So he said these days he's more of a backstage guy. He likes working with the younger talent, getting them ready helping them go out and look good. And for all rights and purposes, say what you want about Triple H, but I mean, he deserves a lot of credit. Again, I want to say it. He deserves a lot of credit for the direction WWE is going in and for changing Vince's mind. I think few things have you ever been able to change Vince McMahon's mind about. Once he's had his mind made up about something, like he was sold on John Cena, But CM Punk was able to change Vince's mind. The fans were able to change Vince's mind about Daniel Bryan. And I think Triple H was able to change Vince's mind about what it takes to necessarily be a star these days. And I mean, a lot of people like to get on Vince and Triple H about the whole bodybuilder fetish thing they got going on and how a guy should look. But for all rights and purposes, I mean, Seth Rollins doesn't look like a bodybuilder. Dean Ambrose doesn't look like a bodybuilder. Dean Ambrose looks like a toothpick, compared to some of the giants, that used to be roaming around the WWE, And I mean, I just think that, Triple H had a lot to do with that. And then also, of course, we got to give big ups to the NXT because that was a joke. Let's just put that out there. That was a joke when it was first brought out. But now NXT is, the minor leagues, it's the D League, and it's bringing better superstars with better quality promos and better action, safer action in the ring to WWE, and it gives them a chance to, like I said on a podcast before, that it gives them a better chance to really create, teach, hone talent, find out what your good spots are, and then able to, blow up those good talents that you do have, and also give you a chance to go back and work on the stuff that you need help with. So it's a win-win. Furthermore, here's why I originally wanted to do this podcast. I tend to go off because, I got a lot of stuff on my mind when it comes to wrestling. Here's what I was thinking, though. And what are your top 5 matches, WrestleMania main event matches, caliber matches, that we haven't seen that you either want to see or wish you could have seen? Now, I mean, it could be whether the person is dead or not a lot. Or not actively wrestling or not able to wrestle. I think one that I would have loved to see is, and I'm gonna count down my top 5 of what I think. My number 5, I think I will want to see is a Bret Hart versus The Rock match at WrestleMania. Never saw it. Rock was curtain jerker when Bret Hart was getting ready to leave WWE, and like I said, by the time The Rock was on top, Bret Hart was out of there. Another one, Goldberg versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. I think that would have sold major tickets. I think that match would have, because think about this. Austin in his prime, 97, 98, 99, 2000, 2001. You can pick any of those years. Austin was the man. Even with a fucking broken neck, he was still able to do what he needed to do. So I don't want to hear about it. Austin, Goldberg, after he beats Hulk for the WCW title. I mean, just imagine what box office that could have done. That would have been insane numbers, especially for that time with pay-per-view and stuff like that. The buy rate would have been ridiculous. Oh, so that's number 4. Number 3, I would like to see, and it's, I guess, again, Shawn Michaels versus The Rock. There's a lot of hearsay that Shawn Michaels really didn't like The Rock. He thought that The Rock really wasn't that good of a wrestler, and he was always pushing for Triple H. I mean, Shawn Michaels even, when he came back one time, cut a promo and said, that, The Rock was trying to steal Hunter's spotlight or whatnot, But, I mean, so we know there's some true animosity there between the two. But, again, Michaels in his prime versus The Rock in his prime, ridiculous buy rate, ridiculous sale numbers. Would have went crazy all over. I gotta say Hulk Hogan versus Stone Cold Steve Austin would have done crazy numbers too. Hulk Hogan in any era against Stone Cold Steve Austin would have done crazy numbers. And I mean, Hulk wanted the WrestleMania match. Originally was supposed to go against Stone Cold and the 2002 WrestleMania. But of course, Hulk didn't want to. It was dispute between Hulk and Stone Cold didn't want to lay down for Hulk and whatever. And so the two just ended up splitting ways, and they put The Rock in that spot. And of course, The Rock ended up going over and, being able to say he's beaten Stone Cold, Steve Austin, Hulk Hogan, and John Cena at WrestleMania before, a claim that nobody else can make. He's beaten everybody on Mount Rushmore with him at WrestleMania. So that was number 2. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and put Rock versus Triple H as number 1. That should have been your WrestleMania 2000 main event. I'm currently going back and watching all of the Monday Night Raws for I started in 98, went 98, 99, 2000, because a lot of the stuff I missed is, as I mentioned before to you guys, I didn't grow up with cable. So I relied on SmackDown, and you didn't get to see everything that was going on and all the feuds and all the storylines and stuff like that. You basically got the main event of whatever the main event of was Raw, and if it was a lead off to SmackDown. And then eventually they added the Raw rebound as SmackDown's later years went on. So I'm going back and I'm watching all of these Raws, and I'm just like, oh my God, these feuds make so much more sense now. Like, I get it now. You really had, back in those days, you really had to watch Raw to understand what was going on. If you missed Raw, you missed everything. SmackDown, you can kind of keep afloat with watching it, but like I said, until the brand split, I mean, it was basically a storyline carryover to SmackDown. And like I said, you couldn't get the gist of everything just off of the previews or the reviews of what happened. Other than that, yeah, I think that going back and watching those Raws, I'm seeing now that, man, Triple H versus The Rock should have been that WrestleMania 2000 main event, because there is nothing. You couldn't have sold a better ticket. Heck, I would have rather them have, Mick Foley versus Big Show as its own main event, and just let The Rock and Triple H just go at it. The fans were ready to see The Rock become WWF champion. They were tired of Triple H as WWF champion, and they were just ready. They were all ready to see, Triple H lose to The Rock finally, and The Rock finally get over on the McMahon family faction. Now, obviously, we ended up having a fatal 4-way elimination match. Big Show went out first, no surprise there. Mick Foley went out second, no surprise there. The surprise came when you thought The Rock was going to win. Then Vince turns on The Rock, joins the McMahon family faction, and Triple H goes over at WrestleMania. Backstage politics? I think so. But that's neither here nor there now. It's water on the bridge. That stuff was almost over 20 years ago. So, yeah, but still, I think that then, of course, The Rock goes over at Backlash. Triple H goes back over on Judgment Day. They finish it off King of the Ring, and it's The Rock going over actually against Vince, not even against Triple H. You still never got that one-on-one match that you needed at a Mania. Like, just one match at Mania. I mean, no offense to Booker T. I would have rather The Rock turn face in 2003 and at Conseco Fieldhouse. No, I'm sorry, not Conseco Fieldhouse. I forgot the name, but that ballpark, Seattle's ballpark, and went against Triple H there and main evented there in 2003, right before he leaves. But yeah, we just never got that Triple H versus Rock main event. So I think that's the number one main event that I would pay my money to see. That Mania main event, Triple H versus The Rock. I think that would be the best one. So what I need from you, my listeners, and I need you to share this podcast with your friends. I need you to like this podcast. And I also need you to comment below your top 5 WrestleMania main events from past, future to present that you want to see or would have liked to see. Tell me what you think would be box office, and tell me why. Don't just post, guys, but tell me why. Let's talk about it. Let's have good discussion. I love good wrestling discussion. So tell me why. All right, guys. Thanks so much for listening, and be sure to tune in to the next Jet and Mike podcast.